Ever get that nagging feeling that the rug is being pulled from under your retirement dreams? That, they, governments, the system, call it what you will, actually don't want you to clock out and enjoy your life when you decide it's time? It's not just a feeling, the evidence is piling up. The traditional retirement we're all promised when we started off on our kind of work life, or maybe we dreamed of when we started our careers, it's becoming a very different beast. Take Denmark, for example. They're looking at a retirement age of 70 by 2040. And then I read this article in the BBC saying that 75 is the new 65. And then there's an article in the Euronews here saying that governments across Europe are looking at raising the retirement age. Then you've got the IMF. People from the baby boomer generation and Gen Xers as well, the sort of early Gen Xers like myself, are being encouraged to stay in the workforce for longer and delay retirement. The IMF stated that governments need to make more use of fit older workers to balance public finances amid fiscal pressures caused by an ageing global population. Well, yeah, sure. Basically, government mismanagement across the world is messed up, and it's us mugs that have to keep working until we're 70 plus. I mean, the prospect of working until I was 65 was absolutely soul-destroying to me. I couldn't imagine it. And look, I know some people have to, but 67, 70? So if you're part of this channel, this Level 50 lifestyle community, or looking to retire early, or dreaming of retirement, or whatever it is, or at least retiring on your terms, I think we need to talk about it. Because waiting for them to make it easy for you, that ship might be sailing. Now, before we get too far down the rabbit hole, let's look at the official reasons and back this up with cold, hard facts and research. Yeah, this isn't some bloke called Dave down the pub conspiracy nonsense you might have read on Facebook. No, mate, this is proper stuff. I've researched it. Why are these changes happening? And why are governments like Denmark and the UK and others in Europe shifting that retirement age? And why do we have people like the head of BlackRock and IMF say people need to work longer? And of course, who benefits? So reason one, the big one, is life expectancy. Globally, we're living longer. For example, in the UK, the Office for National Statistics consistently shows our population is aging. More years in retirement means more years the pension pot needs to last. From 2000 to 2019, global life expectancy increased from 67 to 73. That's in 20 years. By 2050, the UN expects 1 in 6 people worldwide will be aged 65 or older. And as the population ages, many countries will soon reach a point where more people are leaving the workforce than are entering it. We've seen massive reductions in the birth rate in Japan and in Korea. And in the UK, that point may be reached by 2029. In Brazil, 2035, in India, 2048, and in the US, 2053. That's an issue, as it's the working population who actually pays for all the retirees. Life expectancy has been continuing to go up since the mid-1850s, and yet the retirement age has been fairly static. It hasn't really changed that much. Reason number 2, pension system strain and government coffers. This leads directly to pension system sustainability. Many state pensions are pay as you go. As I mentioned, in the UK, we pay national insurance in our salaries, and these contributions all get totted up so that we can claim state pension. Now, originally, I used to think that all these national insurance contributions are sort of going into a glorified savings pot for me to then to be able to sort of draw down from in my state pension. That's how I kind of sort of saw it. But no, the national insurance contributions that are in your salary, that's paying for those who are retired now. And when you retire, it'll be the current workforce who pay for you. Thanks, guys. This is the system in a lot of countries. Fewer workers supporting more retirees for longer periods. That's just a mathematical headache. In the UK, the old age dependency ratio, so basically the number of pensioners per 1,000 working age people, is projected to rise significantly, and therefore raising the state pension age saves the government serious money. Again, the UK's Office of Budget Responsibility estimated that increasing the age from 66 to 67 could save around £10.5 billion a year. And that's what's happened recently. My state pension doesn't kick in until I'm 67. That certainly wasn't the case when I started work. As I said, many retirement ages were brought in like 60, 70 years ago, when life expectancy beyond your state retirement was only about 8 years. Nice, cheerful. Basically, you did work all your life, retired, and then fell over and died. Lifestyles, though, and longevity have shifted significantly. And state pensions, plus combined with continual government mismanagement of the coffers, the economy, it's just made it all untenable. Where's all that money gone? I'd like to ask. I have a good idea. Governments argue it's about intergenerational fairness and keeping the system afloat. Oh, that's great, brilliant, fantastic. But that's not what we felt we were promised when we started work. When I was in my 20s, starting work, the retirement age was 65. 60 years for women. And then it changed to 66 and then 67. If anything, the women have had it worse, moving those goalposts. Do you not feel like a little betrayed by this goalpost movement? And what does it mean for your plans? It's easy for governments and, private institutions and financial, head of financial organizations to sort of state these things and, see it as an abstract policy, but it's not an abstract policy. Moving the retirement age to an older level hits people real hard. Imagine you're, in manual labor or people like that. It's unreasonable, especially, as I said, for blue collar workers. They've worked all their life, working hard, physical demanding jobs. They want life with their kids and their grandkids after a life of paying taxes. They might not even be healthy enough or fit enough to do that manual labor. I'm sure many people can, but when you hit your 50s, you have muscle dystrophy where your muscles start sort of deteriorating unless you keep them up and stuff. So doing manual work until you're 70 is pretty difficult for some people. Manual labor gets exponentially harder the older you get. Is that really fair? And then, of course, there's the whole kind of dignity in retirement. A higher retirement age means people lose the right to a dignified senior life. This isn't just about money. It's about the quality of life in our later years. So raising the official age doesn't always match the reality on the ground. As I said, this just isn't Denmark, right? It's the UK. France recently faced protests at the prospect of their state retirement age going from 62 to 64. 62 to 64 state retirement. You lucky. Anyway, the point is other countries in Europe are looking at this as well. If you look at this article in Euronews. So this is a common thread, common thinking for those in power right now. I've talked about the 3 phases of retirement on this channel before. The go-go years, the slow-go years, and the no-go years. And for me, how retiring early was all about maximizing the amount of go-go years I had. I wanted to be healthy enough to actually enjoy my retirement years and still be able to do stuff, But moving the retirement age to later, to like 67 to 70 for some people, is basically going to reduce those go-go years for many, many people. You're having to work longer, which in itself might make you more unhealthy. Then you add in aging, and suddenly those go-go years are compressed. Despite all these pressures, early retirement isn't just a lie for many, it's an actual burning necessity. The pandemic has shown many people that our work-life balance is all wrong. In fact, for me, I'd go even further. When you step out of that mindset that we've been so indoctrinated with, we've been brought up with, and, get a good education, work hard all your life, retire, die. Nice. When you step out of that, you begin to question why. Why is so much time focused on work? The work bit of all of that. That's what takes up the majority of our life, the work bit. And now that's being extended. Is that really our purpose in life? Just to work? And, I get it. We got to live and we got to feed our families and live and all that. Of course, I get it. We do. But we're also bombarded with stuff to buy and reasons why we need to buy this stuff to keep up with everybody else. So we got to keep working because we've got to keep buying all that stuff. And then, we get credit offered to us to help us buy all this stuff to keep up with all the, Joneses and to, just fill our stuff, consume. And so we got to keep working to keep consuming. And I don't mean food. I'm talking about stuff. The balance is, for me, it's all off. For me, early retirement is about reclaiming your most precious asset, time. time for family, for travel, while you're still healthy enough to enjoy it, for hobbies that you put on hold, time to finally pursue that passion project or even new, less demanding ventures. As I said earlier, what governments are trying to do, because basically they just can't afford to keep up the payments, is to potentially reduce your go-go years. You're the ones that are having to suffer. Wanting to retire only to find a better life balance is so strong that it's even spawned movements like FIRE. I've talked about it on this channel before. Financial independence, retire early. People are making radical lifestyle changes to exit the traditional workforce decades ahead of schedule. But look, that's not a path available for anyone. You know, if extreme FIRE, as they call it, isn't your path, the principle of taking control is what we're talking about on this channel, my Level 50 Lifestyle channel. I never set out to be part of the FIRE movement, you know. I just couldn't face the prospect of working in the same job until I was 65. I mean, I didn't hate the job. I know there's many people in their work that absolutely hate their job. If anything, I found my job easy. I just began to question why and the repetitiveness of the job, like a hamster wheel. I mean, the hamster finds it easy, but is it rewarding? And why was I doing it? Just to keep afloat because of all the stuff I'd bought on credit and the mortgage and keeping the kids up to date with nice things and all the latest tech and keeping me up to date with the latest gadgets because of FOMO, you know, fear of missing out, you know, replacing your mobile phone every year because you've got to have the latest one, you know, it looks so shiny, it's got twiddly buttons and flashy lights. And yet incrementally, the improvement on your last phone is negligible. But we're sort of sucked into this mindset of consuming, and then having to work to consume. Just seems a bit wrong. So if they are pushing for official retirement further out, I'm talking governments here and financial institutions, and you want out sooner, what's the answer? What can you do? Well, it's staring you in the face, basically. You're going to have to rely less on them and more on ourselves. Because whatever you think you might be able to get from the government when you retire at 67, that might all move. You can't rely on that anymore. The days of just cruising into retirement on a state pension alone and living your life out like that, especially in early retirement, are fading. In fact, with the cost of living rising so fast, for many, it might not even be enough. The responsibility of funding those extra years of freedom, or even just having a comfortable retirement at the new official age, is increasingly falling on our shoulders. Think about it. In the US, apparently, workers believe they need nearly $1.3 million to retire. And as I said, in the UK, the state pension is already 67, heading to 67 and then 68. So you're going to have to build your own bridge to freedom. I don't want this all to be about doom and gloom and all of that. Well, you failed there, Clive. I want to offer some hope and optimism, or maybe just a spark to kind of cause you to take some action, or a wake-up call to provide some empowerment. It's about understanding the new rules of the game so you can win the game of life on your own terms. Your early retirement or a comfortable retirement is achievable, but it is going to require a different playbook. Enough about the problem. Enough about being a Debbie Downer. Let's talk solutions. What can you do? How do you actually fight back and plan for early retirement, or at least the retirement that you deserve on your terms? Well, I think there are three key pillars. Pillar one, mindset. You know, there is a massive mindset shift that is required in your life. You're no longer an employee. You're the CEO of My Life Inc. And I know that sounds like some rubbish cliche on an inspirational poster, but you need to start thinking like that you are like a business, yeah? You're not working for your employer, you're working for yourself. You're bringing in the money for your business. You are your business and you're the CEO so that you can retire later. As Psychological Today pointed out in a critique of the FIRE movement, money is a tool. It is not the ultimate goal, yeah? You're not working just to get money. It's a tool. You want money to be a tool for you. If you want to retire early or you want to plan your retirement, you need to know what you're retiring to, not just from. Retirement shouldn't be just an escape from your work life. It should be a destination. Where is it you want to go with retirement? What do you want to achieve? That should be your mission. That is your company, My Life CEO and all of that. That is your company target. Pillar number two, The big one, the awkward one, the thing we struggle with every day, money. There's no getting around it. In the UK, you can typically access private pensions from 55, but even this is rising to 57 with many private pensions. The state pension, as I said, not until 66 or 67 later in my life. So there's quite a gap to fund if you do want to retire early. And with some pension organisations saying that a single person needs over £31,000 a year for a moderate lifestyle in retirement. You can see it's quite a lot of money. I've seen various figures on this single person level range from about 15 to 30 odd thousand. Some people suggest that aiming for a pension pot of 10 times your annual salary is a common rule of thumb. That does seem quite a lot, but if you get in there early, it is possible to achieve. The key tactics: you're going to have to save aggressively and invest smartly. Let compound interest work its magic, and the earlier you start saving, the better. But also, nowadays, there are so many opportunities for multiple income streams. With the internet, think possible side gigs, side hustles, selling old clothes on Vinted or whatever it is. There's lots of people that make a little bit of money on the side. And I'm not talking about young internet bros who claim they're making £10,000 a day. Look at my Ferrari, which they've just hired to show off for the YouTube video. No, I'm talking even if you make 200, 300 quid extra on the side, you can use that money to help, overpay the mortgage or pay off, more importantly, clear any debt you've got, especially credit cards. I mean, the interest rates and minimal payment terms on credit cards are set at a level that you will never pay them off. You're constantly chasing your tail on them. The great irony is that you should be frugal while you've got the money to afford it. Often we end up being frugal because we haven't got much money, so we start scrimping and saving. But actually, it's something you ought to do when you have got money. It's something I regret not doing when suddenly, in the pandemic, I suddenly found I had extra £400 a month coming into my bank account, or at least left over in my bank account, because I wasn't paying any rail fares, because I wasn't commuting anymore. And at first, I saw that money rising and I'm thinking, wow, this is great. But what did I do? I just went and spent it in the end. When in retrospect, I should have just saved it. It was all bonus. It was all extra, or at least paid off my debt. Early retirement isn't just about stopping work. It's about starting something new. As I said, if it's just because you want to get off the merry-go-round of work, then you might end up being bored or not having focus. Even if you do a less stressful part-time job to help supplement your retirement. In the FIRE movement, they have a thing called barista fire, which is like you work in a coffee shop a couple of days to help supplement your retirement, time. It's about shifting that work-life balance in favor of the life bit. So even if you, like many people they have to work during retirement, get a part-time job. And in itself, that is fulfilling. But at least you're still reserving the majority of time for your life. So there are different ways to kind of work out that work-life balance. As I like to preach, say, as I've said numerous times, create a new routine, identify goals, stay physically active, engage in lifelong learning, maintain social connections. There are so many things you can do in retirement. The British Heart Foundation state that you should also get healthy before you retire and approach it like a new job, like you're preparing yourself for a new job. And like any new job, this takes planning, it takes discipline, and sometimes tough choices. But the freedom and fulfillment from all of that, priceless. I live a much more modest life than I used to when I was working. I didn't really care too much about the money. Money came in, money came out. They sort of cancelled each other out. Nature abhors a vacuum. And when it comes to finance, my bank account abhors have anything left in it until the next salary comes in. And I'll be honest, moving to a more frugal lifestyle from suddenly having a big salary has been difficult. But equally, I've just got rid of loads of outgoings already. But I'm adjusting to that more frugal life. More importantly, though, I reap the benefit of time and leisure. And at the same time, because I focus a bit more on the money that I have, I value that money more. And I focus that money on more important things in life. Not just gadgets and stuff. I've got plenty of gadgets. I've got more headphones than a person needs in life. Don't ask me why, I just have. But the point is, I don't need any more headphones. I don't need a brand new phone every 2 years and stuff like that. The real value is experiences. Even though I've got reduced income now, I focus the money on experiences. I mean, at the end of the day, if you can reduce your outgoings, you don't need as much to retire. If you think about, needing the same level of salary just to live your lifestyle, then you'll probably never achieve it. It's more about how much you need. And if you can reduce how much you need, then achieving early retirement is a lot easier than you think. Anyway, I think the world is radically changing over the next 30, 40 years, especially with AI. And there needs to be a whole radical rethink on retirement, what retirement is, whether retirement is something we just wait for at the end of our working life, which is being pushed further and further out, or whether retirement is something that we do throughout our career. There are different ways of thinking about this, and economists and academics are thinking about this, and they're going to have to, because the world is changing dramatically. Whatever happens in the future, it is clear that you're going to have to take more control of your retirement dreams earlier. So look, the landscape might be changing. The governments and financial institutions might have a reason for shifting those goalposts. But your retirement life, your early retirement life, my level 50 lifestyle life is yours to design. Early retirement, or even just as I said, retiring on your own terms, is less about entitlement now, and it's more about intentional creation. What do you intend to do? How do you intend to get to that retirement point? It's going to require financial savviness, a clear vision for your future, and the guts to build it yourself. It's about becoming financially independent from the old system as much as possible, because you can bet your bottom dollar what you might think is going to happen in 10 years' time. Retirement age might be 67, might all change. Don't let the changing tides drown your dreams. Use this information in this video here as a starting point, as a sort of a spark, a flame, a conversation piece to make you start planning, take control. Your best decades can still be ahead of you, trust me, filled with purpose and freedom if you take control. Anyway, let me know what you think about this in the comments down below. Is the movement of the retirement age in your country affecting you? Is it changing your concepts about when you might want to retire? Can you retire? Do you think you'll be able to retire comfortably or even at all? All of that, put it down in the comments down below, as I love to hear the conversation all about level 50 lifestyle, retirement, all of that. I want to start a community here, so get your comments down below. And if any of this video resonated with you, then do me the great honor, please give it a thumbs up, because I like it, YouTube likes it, and it really, really helps me and helps people like you find content just like this. And if you're new to my channel, or one of the 82% of people who regularly watch my videos but haven't got round to it yet, hit that subscribe button, toggle that notification bell, and that way you'll know when I go live with videos just like this. Talking of videos just like this, why don't you check out the videos here? These ones here. You'll love them. Thanks for watching.